Hey guys, Billy T. Garden here for T. Gardens Today. Got just a few things here I want to talk about. First of all, it has to do with the Biden cover-up and what's going on there. If the auto pen was used, that Biden wasn't even around. He wasn't in D.C., he wasn't in the state, he wasn't nowhere around. So it just shows how bad his decline had gotten and how bad it was and how much they wanted to cover it up. And if the auto pen was used, the president didn't know anything about it. It's not legally binding and cannot be reversed. Let's just watch this video to find out what I'm talking about.
21, President Biden issued 78 executive orders. None were signed with an auto pen. That first year of the presidency, Biden, I suppose, was relatively lucid, and 78 executive orders he signed by hand. The second year, however, we see the auto pen emerge. The first auto pen executive order was issued on July 15th, 2022. After that day, 100% of the executive orders issued in 2022 were signed by an auto pen. In 2023, Biden issued 24 executive orders. 16 were auto penned. In 2024, Biden issued 19. 14 were auto penned. In 2025, Biden issued 14 executive orders. Every single one was auto penned. Mr. Wald, let me ask you as a legal matter, if there's a law that's passed both houses of Congress and it goes to the White House, and a staffer auto pens signing that law without the president's authorization, is that law legally passed and signed into law?
No.
If an executive order is issued and a staffer auto pens it without the president's authorization, is that executive order legally binding?
No.
And if a pardon is issued from the President of the United States and a staffer auto pens it without the president's authorization, is that pardon legally binding?
No.
As you see in that auto pen signatures, Biden didn't know anything about, can and very possibly could be reversed. Biden pardons and anything else that, had to do with the auto pen. We'll just have to keep our eye out and keep informed of what's going on with all this. As I know, you'll know. Let's look at what's going on inside the Epstein files. Of course, people are so sick of hearing about this. But it's pretty, something major going on today. So let's just check this out. Mega wants Pam Bondi to resign due to the Epstein files. Bongiorno is looking at stepping down along with Kash Patel. If Bongiorno goes, Patel may step down as well if Bongiorno goes and Pam Bondi stays in this twisted Epstein mess they have all found themselves in today. A heated argument, and Bongiorno wasn't in the office for a few days.
Director Dan Bongino has not been seen in the office since Wednesday after a heated argument with Attorney General Pam Bondi at the White House. Our correspondent David Spott has this story.
A verbal clash between Attorney General Pam Bondi and Deputy FBI Director Dan Bongino at the White House this week over the release of DOJ's Epstein memo. The two-pager out earlier this week insists the convicted sex trafficker and offender killed himself, and a client list does not exist after all.
Now, how would you feel if you were Dan Bongino and found out there was no client list in the Epstein files? Now, let's look at this clip about what else is going on inside this.
Fox is told by 4 separate sources Bongino is so upset about the rollout of the memo, he didn't show up to work on Friday in protest. One source says he hasn't been seen in the office since the argument with the Attorney General. Bondi teased the release of the Epstein material for months.
A source close to Bongino says he's thinking about resigning over this memo rollout, although no final decision has been made.
As you hear in this clip, there are no Epstein files. There's no Epstein client list that they know.
The case, they should explain that as opposed to just saying it doesn't exist. The idea that they're saying it doesn't exist is what's roiling the base so much.
Especially.
As you see, the president hasn't reached any type of decision. Now, let's look at this clip about what else is going on inside this.
Remember that Trump is sidestepping his base and not doing what they're very vocally asking him to do. And so as there's these calls now by some on the right for Pam Bondi to step aside or to resign and be fired, the thing I would say is if Donald Trump wants all of the information the government has on Jeffrey Epstein to be released, he can make that available. He can direct the Attorney General to release it. He can move to whether it may be law enforcement sensitive to declassify that and make it public.
Officials inside the White House are very frustrated because they feel like this news cycle is only getting worse for them. It is not from people that they can easily dismiss or say it's the media or Democrats. It is their own base that is so furious and so angry over how they've handled this. And the question is how they get out of it. And it could result in the departure of the deputy FBI.
As you see here, the president can request anything he wants from the Epstein files from the government, and they have to produce it. According to news sources, he has not made a decision yet. Now, let's look at this video. According to Google, Epstein has gone up 1,200% in Google searches. Usually the president gets into what's going on, but inside of the Epstein mess, he's trying to stay as far away from all this as he can. Now, let's look at this video. According to Google, Epstein has gone up 1,200% in Google searches. Usually the president gets into what's going on, but inside of the Epstein mess, he's trying to stay as far away from all this as he can.
Error by the Trump administration. Donald Trump would love this story to go away, but in fact, interest is climbing higher and higher, to quote Jackie Wilson. Look at this. Google searches for Epstein up 1,200% this week versus last. And get this, it is currently the top topic search with Trump on Google alongside his presidency. So Donald Trump normally, leans in stories in which there's controversy, like tariffs, for example. This is a story in which he's trying to get away from, basically saying, why is anyone still interested in this story? But the bottom line is people are very interested in this story to historic degrees, at least this week.
Give us some perspective, you see that 1,200 number, about other stories in comparison, how people are viewing this one.
Yeah, okay. So, I mentioned tariffs earlier on, right? Epstein has been Googled a lot since Monday. He has actually been Googled 1.4 times as much as tariffs has been Googled, and that is, of course, a huge news story. How about Grok, which is another insane news story this week? I mean, my goodness gracious. But in fact, Epstein has been Googled 2.5 times as much as the Grok story has been Googled. So the bottom line is this is a story in which there's a lot of interest, and it's one of the few stories in which both Steve Bannon and Elon Musk are going after Trump. At least the Trump administration, he's managed to bring together two parts of the administration or two parts of the fan base that have normally been against each other.
Yeah.
According to this, Epstein has been Googled more than Grok or the tariffs, either one. That's pretty significant, I would have to say. That's quite a bit. Now, let's take a look at what's going on inside the ICE deportations and arrests. A federal judge orders 2 restraining orders halting ICE from arresting due to skin color, where they're from, language they speak, or anything else, without probable cause.
So the judge orders the Trump administration to halt random immigration stops and arrests here in Southern California of temporary restraining orders limiting the ability of immigration agents to detain people based merely on their race and ethnicity. Also requires detainees be given access to legal counsel. Now,
a federal judge is stepping in. In a strongly worded ruling, U.S. District Judge Mame Frimpong temporarily barred federal agents from targeting immigrants without clear cause and demanded they stop denying legal access to those in custody. The decision follows a lawsuit from a coalition of civil rights groups, including the ACLU of Southern California.
Well, guys, that's going to do it for night inside of Tea Garden today. Thank you all very much. Until next time.